Let's talk about the female hormone continuum. It often feels like the Space Mountain roller coaster at Disneyland. If you've ever been there, you know this roller coaster is like this crazy twist and turn and loop de loop in the dark. You never know where you're going next. You're just thrust in all directions. And I think this is what it feels like on the female hormone continuum. We move through these phases, like we're thrust into puberty. And then from there, we go into this like season of life where we have to figure out what our body needs because now we're working, we have families, things are all over the place. And then we get through all that and we're like, hello, perimenopause. I didn't know I was coming up against all these things in my late 30s. And it just can feel like this wild roller coaster instead of a journey. And so, my hope today is that we're going to have some of this conversation about what these phases are so that it feels much less like that roller coaster and more like a road trip with mile markers along the way. So we're going, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's what I know I need to do. Because there's one thing I'm really sick and tired of. I am so tired of hearing that this subpar, low energy existence is what I have to accept for the rest of my life. Like I'm just supposed to be tired and that's the way it's going to go. No, I do not accept that for me. And I do not accept that for you. And a lot of that has to do with understanding where you're at in your season and partnering nutrition accordingly. Let's talk about what these hormonal seasons are. So we have four of them. We start with the growing season. This is puberty all the way into about your mid 20s. From here, our bodies are growing and changing. And I know you know this, we are all thrust into that season. From there, we have what I call the aligning season. This is going to run from your mid 20s until your late 30s. This is where we're trying to figure out how the heck do we take care of our body? How do we align our nutrition and our exercise and our sleep with these constantly changing seasons of life? Because we get new jobs, more responsibility, pets, we buy houses, maybe we're starting a family. There's so much that's happening. It can feel kind of like a moving target. What's crazy though is we get through all of that, we finally figure it out, and then hello, perimenopause, all these symptoms that I didn't even know I was going to have to come up against. And I call this the adapting season. So this is going to run from your late 30s all the way up to your 50s, early 50s. And it's where we're adapting. We are figuring out what does my body need because it's going to look different as we move through this season. And then finally, early 50s and beyond, we move into what I call the redesigning phase, which is menopause, because nutrition needs dramatically change in that season. And as we enter it, we are redesigning how we have a relationship with food so that we can move into it with empowerment. Understanding these seasons and cycles is so important. And here's why. I was working with a teenage client this week and we were unpacking some of her nutrition rules. And she said, Jess, I get really anxious if I don't eat a lot of protein. And I said, tell me more about that. And she goes, I have to have protein at every snack and meal. I mean, it's everywhere on TikTok and Instagram. And I said, you know what? That's not wrong. I mean, protein is very important and having it at these meals and having it in high doses, yes, that's important. If you were in the adapting and redesigning season. And I got to explain to her that as you move on that continuum to the latter seasons, there are metabolic shifts that require more protein. But the one she's in right now, the primary goal is simply eating adequately enough and getting some key micronutrients so we can build up her iron stores and maximize her bone density. She was so relieved to know that that wasn't necessarily wrong information. It was just misplaced in her season of life. So she pocketed that thought, put it away for later, and she's going to come back to it when she's in the right season. And so I want to talk today about what we can do in the adapting season, because I am coming to you today as a dietitian. I've done the work, I've done the studying, the reading, I've got the credentials, but I'm also a human and I've moved into this metabolically as well in the last few years. And it has been wild how powerful nutrition has been in this journey. So if I'm coming to you today, I'm talking to my elder millennials, my Gen Zers, because we are moving through this season of perimenopause right now. And these are three things that I changed when I hit that season. These are the three things that changed: my attention to gut health, my grit factor, and how I supplement. Oh, hello. We got an extra buddy here today. Oh, hello. Hi. Okay, Grizzy's going to stay. Okay, so let's talk about the first one, my attention to gut health. So one of the major changes that happens with age is there is a decline in our microbial diversity. These are the little gut bugs that live in our intestines. These start to change and decrease with age. Some of that is just natural with age. Some of it is stress and the fact that we are carrying so much in this season. And so it's going to require a bit more attention. I think of it kind of like a car with a lot of miles on it. Once your car gets so many miles on it and you take it on a rugged road trip, you're going to have to come back and pay more attention to have more maintenance to it because she's been through a lot already and you took her on a pretty wild ride. This is what's happening to our gut health in this season of life. And so there's something inside our microbiome called the estrobolome. And the estrobolome is a specific grouping of microbes and genes that are responsible for metabolizing estrogen. This is huge. Our liver is amazing at processing extra hormones, packaging them up, putting these little pretty bows on them, and sending them to our gut to be excreted from the body. But once it's in the gut, it's at our microbes' mercy whether or not it's reopened and distributed back into our body or excreted from the body like it was supposed to be. If we have an unhealthy estrobolome, what happens is we start to unpack all those little estrogen molecules that were supposed to get kicked out of our body and they get sent back in for recirculation. This is not great for us, especially if we're demonstrating or showing up with some estrogen dominant symptoms like lack of sleep, difficulty building muscle mass. These are things that might be happening. And so taking care of our gut health is incredibly powerful. This is why I got into GI mapping and better understanding what the blueprint of my gut looks like, because it allows me to support it in a very specific manner. When I went to the doctor and told them my symptoms, they were like, oh, girl, you need hormones. And I said, okay, well, what are some of the side effects of hormones? She, no joke, Googled it in front of me. And I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Let me go do some research. And I was fortunate enough to come across this, find ways to heal my gut because of what I do for a living. And all of my symptoms went away. It was incredible. Now, of course, I am moving through perimenopause. So I have these hormonal swings, but at least now I know why and I understand them. And I can see a dramatic influence on how healthy my gut is and how my hormone cycle is going. So recently, I had neglected some of these gut health strategies that I implemented. And I'm going to tell you, I was not the Jess I wanted to be. I went to my husband and I said, hey, husband, I need to ask you something. And I preface this with this statement. I said, I am actually in a really solid state of mind right now. Have I been more moody in the last month? And he looks at me like, this sounds like a trap. I don't know. But finally, I let him know, please tell me honestly, I'm looking for an assessment. And he said, yes. And I go, okay, well, I just can't neglect my gut health. And so that means eating an intentional amount of fruits and vegetables, watching my coffee intake, taking really high quality care of my gut. This is something I didn't do 5-10 years ago. I mean, I could get away with eating truly nachos all weekend and drinking very little water, and I wouldn't feel great, but I could get through and I didn't have these effects or these outcomes like I do today. If I am stressed and I skip meals or I start eating out more, or I have a weekend where I miss a lot of vegetable intake, my hormones are more dramatic and these rides are scarier. It's more like the roller coaster than the road trip. So gut health has become increasingly important to me. The second thing that has changed is my grit factor. This actually came up. I was talking with a friend at the gym and she goes, Jess, I just don't have the grit I used to have. And I just laughed and I said, me either. And then I sat there, I kept stretching and I thought, you know what? It's not that I don't have the grit. It's that I don't have grit for the gym. My grit factor is just as strong now, maybe stronger than it's ever been. It's just not funneled in the places it used to be. In my 40s, I've got 2 boys. I'm coaching one of their soccer teams. I'm running a business. My husband is switching his careers. We have 2 dogs. One of them is, as you saw, very needy and needs a lot of attention and snuggles from me. And so there's a lot happening in my life, all good things, but nonetheless a lot. And so this idea of the grit factor not being there in the gym and thinking like, I'm not measuring up and doing the workouts I used to do, finally realized it's not because I don't have grit. It's just that I have redistributed where I expend that grit, and it's more in alignment with my values. And I'm not going to count that as a loss. I'm actually going to count that as a win. So no, I didn't lose my grit. And my guess is you haven't either. But if you're not hitting the gym the way you used to in your early 20s, chances are it's because you're carrying a lot more on your plate. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. That's just a growing up thing. And we have to look at the inventory of our lives and appreciate the things we have built and then just do that values check. Is all of this in alignment with my values? Because if I looked at everything I'm doing right now, I wouldn't trade any of it. None of it. Not for a harder workout. I'm perfectly happy with the workouts I am doing and keeping some of that energy for coaching my kids' soccer team in the afternoon or walking my dogs or having energy to talk to my husband at the end of the day. This is more in alignment with the life I wanted to build anyways. And last but not least is supplementation. So this has dramatically changed. I remember being in undergraduate school and being trained that, food first, food first. And I 100% believe that. Food first. We cannot capture the beauty and the micronutrients, the phytonutrients, and how they all work together and build a healthy gut. We can't capture that in a pill, but we can capture medically therapeutic doses of micronutrition that has better outcomes for this season of life. So for example, vitamin D is something that can change, especially with stress or sickness. And getting enough vitamin D from being out in the sun a couple times a week, or some of the vitamin D fortified foods that we have, like dairy products, it doesn't move the needle on our vitamin D status. And so supplementing with an appropriate dose is what's going to finally move that needle and get your vitamin D back up to where we want it to be, which is so important for immune function and hormone cycles. Another example is magnesium. Magnesium is a micronutrient that is involved in over 300 enzymatic pathways in your body. And this one's getting a lot of attention because when they did a survey of Americans, only 28% of us even get close to the recommended amount of magnesium. And then making up that gap with your food and getting some of those therapeutic levels that help with sleep or anxiety or sport recovery, it's really hard to do with food. So this is a great one to add in supplement form. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds. There's glycinate, citrate, malate, and all of these function differently in the body. So we can find the specific type of magnesium and give our body exactly what it needs. If we go back to that car analogy, our car has more miles on her. My car, I got more miles on me. And so I'm going to need more than just the regular oil change. I need some supplements in there to help boost my energy and carry me through. I 100% think it is worth everybody's time to sit down with a clinician, have a complete nutrition assessment done, and get your custom supplement stack done for you. I don't want you picking any lists or taking the list I'm saying I take. Find what you need, because that's the power of these supplements, is when they're customized to us. Okay, if you're listening here in real time, I'm so excited because I have some spots open for you. I'm taking on 10 intake assessments this month, and it's going to be awesome because we can actually do this for you. So if you're listening in real time, you can actually snag those details in the show notes. If you're tuning into this much later, that's okay. I have information on how to get connected for you as well. I supplement with magnesium, sleep support, which includes ashwagandha, GABA, L-theanine. I have a medical grade probiotic, an omega-3, dialed in vitamin D with K2 so that it absorbs optimally, and calcium. And then of course I've got some digestive enzymes that I take anytime I have Frito pie, because I would really like to keep my friends after eating those. But here's the thing with supplementing smart. You have to find the supplement stack that is designed for you. And I cannot stress this enough. Don't take the supplements that I'm taking, because I've done the work and done a deep dive into my nutrient status, my lab report, and looked at exactly what my body needs. And it will blow your mind how different you feel when you have a supplement stack that is designed for you. You want more information on this? I have a lab guide that I would love for you to have in your hands. You can grab those details in the show notes. But what this is this is the first step in understanding some of these details about what micronutrients your body might be missing. And then the second half of this is talk to a clinician. Find someone in your corner that can walk you through this and help you understand what your body needs. In each of these seasons, there are specific nutrient needs that you're going to need. So going back to the teenager I was talking about, she needs iron and calcium and vitamin D and magnesium. Those are her supplement stacks. That's going to look different from someone who's in the aligning phase and the redesigning phase. What matters is you, and you are worth the investment to sit down and actually understand how your body can be best taken care of. If you're interested in diving into this with me, I would love to be that person for you. You can find those details in the show notes, and I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, cheers and happy eating.